Welcome to the Spicy Wisdom Podcast, where real stories meet real growth. This is a space for raw truth, lived experience, and the kind of wisdom that's earned through fire, not fluff. We bring you voices that inspire, challenge, and remind you that you're not alone on your journey. On today's episode, we're sitting down with a woman who embodies strength, soul, and sweetness. Uni Chains, a powerful entrepreneur from Vancouver whose journey is as vibrant as the fruit popsicles she creates. Uni isn't just building a business, she's crafting joy. Through her line of healthy, handcrafted deluxe fruit popsicles, she's serving up nourishment for the body and inspiration for the soul. But her story runs deeper than recipes. She's faced real-life challenges, pushed through obstacles that could have stopped her cold, and came out the other side not just surviving, but thriving. We talk about the grit it takes to start something from the ground up, the emotional resilience behind every choice she's made, and how turning to health, creativity, and community helped her transform hardship into purpose. If you've ever wondered what it looks like to build something beautiful after the storm, to lead with heart, and to flavor your life with intention, this episode is your treat. Just like the treat it is to have you here today, Uni.
Oh.
Welcome to the Spicy Wisdom Collective.
Oh, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So, how's your week?
This week is really eventful, very exciting, actually. Lots has happened. I danced a lot. I went to an outdoor rave that was held under the bridge in Vancouver with just incredible humans around me, like PK sound system.
That sounds like probably a couple of people I know. Like, by any chance, was Jolly there?
Jolly was not there. No. Yeah, I was held by a few other, like, the drum and bass crew, and they brought their sound system, and it was super, like, just renegade style, and I loved it. I just loved it. Like, I haven't been around so many incredible, wild weirdos in a really long time, so I loved it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then I got a lot of food delivery this week.
I actually saw a post of those two lovely young ladies.
Yes. Yeah.
So what kind of food do they serve?
So I have been connecting with people in the community because I've been really passionate about not paying for food. Essentially, I struggled so much financially to provide and support my nervous system and my health. And I just couldn't afford food. And I just asked the universe, please show me a sign, show me a way that I can eat well and not have to pay for it. And it just so happens that these three incredible women around Pandora had been holding it down there for the past few years, giving free food to the community. And what they do is they drive and pick up all the day olds and all of the basically the produce that's ready to be thrown out into the garbage, and they rescue it.
And Pandora's the name of the company?
No, that's not even a company. It's just really super underground. They're just all mothers, and they just really care about this and see that there's a need for this. And it actually started, so Pandora Park right in East Van around Nanaimo and Hastings area, there used to be a community fridge and freezer.
I heard about this.
Yeah. And it was really, really good for a while until it got raided on a regular basis by so many people. And so there was just no regulation. There was just no trust. Food was just being taken immediately as soon as it was dropped off, right? And it was getting quartered.
Spoiling it for the rest of them for the sort of open.
So since that removal of that fridge and freezer, Tita, I call them Tita because they're Filipina, Tita Pasita and Tita Alma, and another beautiful auntie, I forgot her name, but she is Spanish. So they're all women of color that all have jobs, and they're all mothers, and they're just so down. You know what I mean? They're just so here. That is their front line. They just rescue food on a regular basis, and they give it for free to the community in their van. That's it. Just in their van. And so I passed by them a couple of times. They've given me really, really good produce. And then one day I decided, I was like, I'm going to introduce myself to them and share my food project. And I told them about the popsicle project. And next thing you know, I'm getting boxes. So it's been pretty cool. And yeah, they're just like my main like hookup right now that helps me do what I do.
Honestly, that really reminds me of, I was really inspired and touched by the story of Landback. And I'm like, you don't hear about that stuff here. Now I'm just, I'm humbled by this, and that makes me very happy to hear that, especially in Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver is super, like, it's overpriced. They want everything to be super legit. And you know what? There is like a food insecurity that's on the rise. And really, we actually have so much food. We just really need to rescue it. So I really do believe that we can abolish paying for food if every single community member participated.
There's not a food shortage. There's
no
food distribution.
Yes, exactly.
We have a similar thing happening down here in Queensborough. Every Saturday, it's not a government run. It's down by the community center. And they get stuff from a place called Price Mart, not this that used to be Save on Foods, but
right.
It's a supermarket that has just, most delicious Asian food. But you go in there and every Saturday you get carrots and celery and, lettuce and beets and potatoes and this and that. And then you get like 3 packages of noodles or like a pasta. And you have enough food for the whole week.
Exactly.
And if you don't make it there at the beginning and you don't get, the steak or the chicken, like you actually get that, then you get, one time I walked home with 5 giant bags of orzo. Oh, I'll actually send you home with some orzo.
Are you serious?
100%.
Thank you. I love that.
But, it's really nice to hear now that there's, I know about this one, but
there's a lot of people, like I'm trying to partner up with people that are passionate about food, liberating food from the shelves. Definitely around like food waste, because we don't really want to throw food. However, we can turn it into a new product, great, right? I've actually learned how to do food justice with my elders, my seashell elders in the Sunshine Coast. So they can food.
Is it like Obelage?
Obelage, yes. I got to live with her for a couple months. And so I'm really grateful that like my life has been transformed. Like she's a big part of my recovery. She's actually my angel. She's my guardian angel. She's one of the reasons why I'm starting a popsicle project with no preservatives. I mean, I'm not working with citric acid or any kind of stabilizers to make it softer. Like, no, we're working with real food and real electrolytes, because that's what nature gives us so abundantly. And we function way better with real food, And so Hope Illich has been my greatest teacher and essentially saved my life, because I was going down a really dark path prior to meeting her. And her daughter, too, and her son and her grandson. So I love the Higgins family. They have just helped me be who I am today. And every time I do a pop-up market or whatever, I actually bring her book with me to explain to the people why I do what I do and why I am doing the front line around food justice. So yeah, that's really cool that you know her.
Right. I had a chance to become a delegate of the Seashell Nation at Peace Camp.
Oh, the Peace Camp I heard everything about the Peace Camp.
I was Sarah Wendell.
Badass.
Her and her daughter came, and we had a ceremony. Yep. And she brought a whole bunch of gifts, and at the very end of the ceremony, a tree frog jumped on her shoulder, and she just started laughing. She said, "Wow, my spirit animal."
Yeah, they're from the Frog Clan. They're from the Frog Clan. And the frogs it's so funny, because the story about the Frog Clan, when at first when she was told by her family members that she's part of the Frog Clan, she's like, I don't want to be a part of the Frog Clan. Like, they're so tiny. And they're like, no, they're actually really powerful. The amphibians are the ones that actually hold everybody up in the totem family, right? Because of their ability to, hold down the whole ecosystem, and they provide the food, they provide the foundation. And so the Frog Clan are actually, they potlatch. They have been potlatching for years, and because she has gone to the spirit world a couple of years ago, she went about 2022, 2023 now. I don't even remember. It's been a bit weird for me. A lot of friends have passed away, and she's been one of the closest ones to me. And they're about to have, they're due. Holly Higgins, Quatlimath is her name, her traditional name. They just posted on Facebook that they're going to have a potlatch in 2027. So they've set that to date, and it's to honor her mother and her late son.
If you could reach out to them, and I would very much like to be part of that.
I will. I would love for you to come by, because I love them so much. I'm actually really close to them. I'm really close to them. Like I was invited to live with Hope Illich after her stroke, and I was invited by one of her closest care support. His name is Douglas Boogie. And he invited me to help and assist in cooking and just spending time with her and, living in their trailer and stuff. And I took that opportunity to say yes after all the crazy land defending work I did. And so, I have that.
It sounds like it has a lot of ties into sort of your entry into these aunties and sort of your passion for bringing food to the people without having the corporation prices and
nourishment is everything. And when I was shared the teachings about their family and their upbringing, and how I asked what were the kids like, when they would pick food and they'd pick berries or they'd fish and gut the fish, they start very, very young. And so that is, for me, I believe food is our medicine and is our foundation. It is our birthright. It is our way to be nourished and be energized and to show up and powerful, right? And when the food gets tainted by corporations and by the government and controlled, then there's greed. And the teachings of their family and their lineage and their culture had no greed. It was equity. It was unity. It was everyone was taken care of. Not only their human bodies were taken care of, the animal families were also taken care of too. Because they didn't go out there and destroy the bare, woods and all of that area. They didn't do that. The Europeans did that. The colonizers did that, right? And so that has transformed Turtle Island and Seychelles over the last 150 years, and their nation is so strong. They're actually doing an incredible job of revitalizing their culture. Hope Illich is incredibly a powerful matriarch and super iconic, because even though after she has passed on, her work and legacy still continues with the people. She actually fundraised with the community to get a canoe for the nation and still uses that canoe for a canoe journey. So to this day, people use her canoe. It's called, I can't even pronounce, I'm going to butcher it. So I'm going to use the English word. It's the grandmother's canoe. And so she honors her grandmothers who have taught her how to survive and to be sustained. I lived with a 92-year-old woman who was canning fish and berries at 3 a.m.
Oh, I tasted. She brought some amazing mason jarred fish. It had some of the salmon, which had the cooked and the uncooked eggs, and we were just sitting around and warming up the stale bread around the fire, and just the typical bean stew, and then it's okay, let's do it, and just open up one of the salmon things, and it was just so delicious. She made an impression on my life.
Yes, I'm glad she did, and she has for so many people, a lot of young and old and everyone. She's a star, you know what I mean? She's a star.
Yes.
That twinkle in her eye, I will never forget. Her love for Star Trek. I mean, I sat with her for hours. Listened to a lot of her stories. I tried to photograph and film her. I'm so blessed and so lucky that I got to massage her feet and massage her back.
I am grateful to have you here and to share your wisdom.
Hey.
That's
The cool thing about Peace Camp is, and I told her daughter and her this too, that I used to live at the Peace Camp years after Peace Camp had happened. So during 2020, during COVID, I left East Van to go live in the Sunshine Coast and just like F off from everybody and just live with the land, you know? And there was about a time where I lived in the bottom part of, what is it called?
Roberts Creek?
Roberts Creek, yeah. I lived in the bottom part of Roberts Creek where there was like a logging road, and then we got kicked out. And I took my trailer and moved it on top of that power line. I went all the way to the top and actually parked right at Peace Camp. But I didn't know it was Peace Camp until like 2 years later after leaving that area, right? So it's quite serendipitous in the synchronicity. Like, I definitely have felt the power of that land, and I feel very, very connected to Roberts Creek. It's a very spiritual mountain for me. I have grown and evolved in that place and just felt everything that Mother Earth is going through and what I was going through as a human.
So before we get too far into that, let's bring it back to the beginning.
The beginning. Oh my.
What was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
Okay, so let me just back it up. I am Filipino. I am Batigüeña, actually. So I arrived in Turtle Island in so-called Richmond at 8 years old. I'm 37 now, so that was 31 years ago I arrived in this continent, in this country, in the city. So I am a Richmond girl, and I moved out when I was 19 years old. I am basically a survivor and a first generation to break the cycle of trauma within our life. How do I put this in words? We immigrated here. My parents sacrificed their youth and their life to try to give a better life for me and my little brother. And that was really, really, really hard. I didn't get to live with my mother for all of my childhood until 17 years old. So I was living with my father, who's a single father who worked day and night. And
being a mom and a dad.
He was being a mom and a dad at the same time. And he had not a clue who I was. Like, he didn't have the time to get to know me and my brother.
You were so busy working.
He was so busy working. So when I was a child and a teenager, I was so heartbroken. I was like, why don't you love me? I never felt validated. I wasn't seen. I wasn't supported in any of my desires or projects. I always had to hide from what I wanted to do. So I spent a lot of time crying and trying to figure out why I lived the way I lived. And I also felt really like envious and jealous of everyone around me who had a mother and who had the life. And, why did I always have to be, modest and be like, oh, can I get this for my birthday? And he's like, oh, I can't afford it. I'm like, oh, it's okay. You can just get me something like cheaper.
So would you say that was a big factor in the beginning of being, self-sufficient, or did it take a while to sort of...
It took a while. I mean, I had to rebel from that. I mean, that whole entire experience definitely turned me into a people pleaser, right? I didn't know my worth. I didn't know my worth at that time. I just really was living under my dad's rules. And as soon as I had a voice and I noticed that he was being kind of aggressive and just wasn't doing the dad thing right, I'll never forget, thank you. I love my father. We have a way better relationship now. We can talk about anything. We even smoke weed sometimes together and everything. And he's just so cool. Like, I have so much respect for him. He's a professional cleaner. Leaving the Philippines, paradise, by the way, my homelands, the archipelago of so-called Philippines, which is named after St. Philip's.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's colonized as fuck. And we're out here reclaiming that as the younger generations, the future ancestors, reclaiming our ancestry through every artistry that we could possibly imagine. And
was there a name before?
There was a renaming at one point. I don't remember what year it was, but they wanted to call the so-called Philippines Maharlika, right? And so there's 7,000 islands in that whole entire area and region. And so I'm not the right person to really answer any questions about it. I just kind of picked up what I have gotten from my journey of decolonization, because even the word Filipino or the word Tagalog, those are all still very colonized. It's the domestic version of our language when we actually have so many different dialects. And we are indigenous to the land. They have connections to the plants and the animals and have been taking care of it for a while. But sadly, the corruption of the government and the corporations in different countries have just really gotten their hands in our beautiful, rich islands. and basically displacing our indigenous tribes that are holding it down there, you know? And so that's why I'm really passionate about Landback and traditional ways and the sacred ways that I believe is our gift. Our feet are meant to be touching the earth. We're not supposed to be wearing socks and shoes. Pre-colonial times, our people were matriarchal. So our matriarchs in the Philippines, because it's so hot there, were topless, or they would wear natural fibers. We weren't into this whole like, let's get our face did and everything's all fake and stuff like that. Everything is so rich, you know, rich in gold and rich in food and clean water and all of those things.
So here's a random question. What is your own version of the boogeyman? So for example, in Northwest Coast Indigenous, it's Tonaqua, the woman of the woods. Better be good. And there's, Baba Yaga, Russia.
Okay.
Is there a...
Well, there's a lot of folk tales. There's a whole folklore in the Philippines. We have half, what do you call it? Like half-bodied, like...
Is there a specific one for naughty kids?
Yes, there is. I don't remember the name, but yes, there is. There's definitely a lot of that. And yeah, there's a lot.
We'll have to have you back again on another podcast for future things, and you can come back and we'll come back to that.
Sure.
But so home life, your dad, works a lot, and you're sort of struggling with self-confidence and empowerment. And so, school life.
So I went to Cook School Elementary, and then I went to Palmer. And I graduated in 2006 with a horse and course scholarship because I wasn't the brightest kid in the school. I just was too ADD to function, really. I was like hyper and talking to everybody, and I wanted to I was just such a friendly person.
My nose Steve,
you know
by the
what I
way,
mean?
but yes, I do know what you mean.
And I actually got it's so funny because I was like bullied, and I was also loved. Like I had everything, you know what I mean? Like when I was in grade 8, I got my first bitch fight with a grade 12-year-old girl, and I stood up for myself.
From what I've heard with a lot of people who I've talked to around that age, who are very similar, I'm guessing that you got along well with the teachers more than you did.
Yes, definitely. The teachers definitely, a couple teachers, some teachers just thought I was just too much, and I got kicked out.
So what was your elementary school life before we jump back to the high school?
I was bullied for sure. Like I had friends. I had a best friend. Socially, I didn't have an issue with people, but because I was so friendly and just kind to anyone. But I was bullied by just the bullies, right? And I stood out a lot too because I was super hyperactive in class. I remember my computer teacher, Mr. Biznar. Oh my gosh. He was a computer teacher, and I would always on the computer desk, and you just kind of push your seat back. Yes. And you're just kind of on the two, there's four. Yeah, that's me. God. That was me, right? And I never could finish a project. I was always talking to everybody. And he was also my recording teacher. So he taught us how to, the recorder, right? And I got kicked out multiple times. And I look back and go, wow, that's what makes me spicy.
Yeah, it wasn't school I was kicked out of. It was my dad took me to have me to take acrobatics at least 7 years old, and it honestly, I'd love to go on about how similar our experiences are, but that's for after the podcast.
Yeah.
But all the other kids were supposed to be jumping on the horse thing and doing that stuff. I was running around the rest of the gym going, ah!
Yeah, right? And the hyperness is real, man. And I just look back on that and I wish my dad just saw that I was a super genius. I
actually found recently, I learned that ADHD is not, in fact, a new thing. It's a trait of certain people in humanity. Back then, It was our job because we would be the ones who would not be content with just agriculture and, animal husbandry and all that stuff. We needed more. And so we had the mental capacity and the brain structure that just drove us to be the explorers and the first ones to go beyond the comfort zone, because and other people, that's too scary. We were like, well, this is too limiting, and so
Yeah, no, ADHD is definitely a superpower.
Yes.
It's a superpower, and we are, and you tapped into your supernatural abilities, and I actually love it now more than ever. Now that I've done a lot of recovery with my health, I don't take any like medication for my ADHD, but I do take tinctures. And
Sleep transport?
I don't have that yet, but I am going to be harvesting that. I do mostly like tinctures that support my kidney and my liver. So my emotions run super high, and your kidney and your liver is your filtering system, right? And so being that I'm like super emotional, I'll just like cry and laugh and all the things, and throughout the day. And since I started supporting my adrenal glands and my kidney, my liver through the herbs and the tinctures I've been doing, I've been able to fully like just be present with the experiences. It's just really cool, because before it used to be like, I need to throw shit. I need to break something. I need to scream at somebody, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't know how to process it. And because again, like, our food system is not the best, and we don't have enough education around what's happening to our internal body. And also, I am in a female body. I'm on a 28-day cycle. Every single week, my hormones change. So I've done a lot of research to fully figure out how to support my body so that I can function better. But, when you're like talking to a doctor being like, why am I having psychosis? Why do I have these crazy dreams? Why do I have so much anxiety? Oh, it's because you're this and this and this, and we're just going to give you this, right?
Yeah, I find that that's what's lacking in Western medicine, is because it goes straight to the chemical imbalance and the situations which apply to this, and blah blah blah. It doesn't really go deeper.
It doesn't go deeper because they don't want to fix anybody. They just, like, the system is meant to capitalize on us, and we need to capitalize on it. We need to capitalize on it, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I want to abolish paying for food.
So before we go back to the main part, well, there's no whoops about it. It's just I honestly could get lost in this, because your story and the way that you weave this journey is, I have to bring myself back. And,
Okay.
High school, then we can get to the. So high school. What was your experience after elementary? How did it transition, and between home life and elementary, and then transitioning there? What?
So I had a group of girlfriends who were really just incredible. They were just so sassy and just really fun, and we were all friends at elementary. We all went to elementary, and we all just like hung out every summer, and like went to the mall, and like supported each other's birthdays and stuff like that. And by the time we hit grade 8, like, we matured. We all got our periods. We all looked a little bit older, but I was like the youngest looking one. Like, everyone else had boobs and ass, and I was like flat as a stick. But I had my period, right? And so it took me a while to really like develop and feel like really confident and mature. But I started, music was really, really fun during that time. Like, what year was that when I was 13 years old? So I guess 2001. Yeah, we had like Ja Rule and Ashanti and J Lo and Christina Aguilera and like all that shit, right? Like the Spice Girls, I know, like, let's talk about spiciness. Spice Girls was like my jam, you know what I mean? Like, that was like my thing, and I didn't really I got obsessed with Spice Girls. Like, I didn't really listen to anybody else. But then as you get into high school, like, that's when you really get introduced to all the music, and I went to every school dance.
You're going to be one of my most challenging guests, because you are, not only do I see the host making, and I'm the host, and it's about you, but there's so much in common.
Yeah, well, millennial babies, Y2K, it's so funny. Like, that is literally like me, like, that's me. I'm 88. Like, that was when I was born, and so 84. Yeah. So Y2K is our shit. And
you avoided the Coke bottle glasses, turtleneck sweaters, and fondue parties, and avoided the crazy hair stuff influencing you.
Yeah.
You came in just at the right time, where you still got the 80s experience and the world before technology. without getting influenced by the corniness and damn, that's lucky.
Yeah, it was fun. I felt like, we were all just so innocent and also programmed. We were hella programmed by society, you know what I mean? Right? We got the Backstreet Boys and the NSYNC and the 98 Degrees and all of that whole thing, and like Jessica Simpson, like all of that. Like Christina Aguilera was like one of my favorites, and that's not Christina Aguilera. I know that's oh my god, what is her name? Shakira. I'm like Shania Twain. No, that's Shakira.
But yeah, the programming was pretty intense then, because people were a lot less aware of social influencing and direction of the way society was pushed. It was a lot more subtle back then. So
yeah, no, for sure, it was super subtle, but it was also so like clear, right? Like 30 years later, I watched all these documentaries about like freaking like Aaron Carter and all of the Nickelodeon and all of that shit about like what they were doing to our young stars, the pedophilia and the grouping that was happening, and like that shit was crazy. And like honestly, like
down to hit the Spicy Wisdom podcast at some point or another. I've been kind of lost lately with the.
I got groomed, and I feel like this is too crazy to share this, but like I can't really share the names, but I got groomed by a much older person when I was 19 years old. And so I got into a relationship with someone much older than me, 26 years older than me, which shaped my whole entire fucking life. And he and I trusted him is because of my upbringing. Like, I didn't have safety and protection from my home life. I rebelled as early as 14, 15. I would sneak out of my house. I would bring people at my place. I'd bring guys at my house. Like I was already fucking at 15 years old.
Was this would you say that there was a bit of an influence of your dad was working really hard because he loved you so much to support you, but with somebody of this, the needs of an aware and open and a kid who just has some extra super qualities but needs that sort of extra bit of effort. Would you say that lack of that sort of affected?
Absolutely. I always wanted him to be affectionate with me. That's one thing I really wanted. Like, so my mother was very touchy with me when we were young. She used to massage my hair. Like, she used to massage my head. She would always hug us. And then when we moved to Canada and then got to live with my dad, I was expecting that same kind of affection. And that was just none at all. Like, I would climb and jump on my dad and he would just like kind of push me away. And the first times that he pushed me away was the first rejections I had experienced. So those rejections, I had always just like kept it inside of me. And so that was how I like coped with everything. Like, that rejection kind of put me in a survival state for.
So would you say that was sort of like a personal thing with him, or was it sort of a cultural thing, or was it a society sort of at the time kind of thing?
I can't say it's cultural because a lot of my family members had a lot of that affection, but it was just, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe because my grandparents were affectionate with him, which is why he didn't really prioritize it, right? Because, if I was a dad, I'd be like, my kids are never going to get no hug. Like, they're always going to get hugs.
I only say that because my grandmother, you think grandmothers are all, I love you and all that stuff, but Grammy, on my mom's side, she was second generation Scottish, and it was if you want to hug Quentin, you need to get off disability and work for a year, and then I'll give you a hug. So it really sometimes sort of matters as you get older and you start to assess, was it a cultural thing? Was it just a them thing, or was it the way they were raised, or was it?
I think a lot of people were raised without touch, and that really shaped how they were going to be around children, right?
Well, actually, there was something back in what was permitted to be by the Holy Emperor Frederick II in the 13th century. But, it was called the Forbidden Experiment, where, they tested to see what would happen if babies were raised without human touch and interaction. And, would it affect their speech? Would it, affect, how they became? And it really put a focus and highlight on the importance of touch and interaction for the development of, a person later in life.
That's insane.
So, now with all of this, you had just sort of hit a rebel point in your life, and started, exploring, sort of rebel and very, very, very real parts of your life that shaped your journey. And I guess what I say is that the people who shine the brightest are the people who have also walked a path in dark, and then realized that is not who they want to be. So then they choose to walk a bright path, and they are vetted to truly shine bright, because it's not like, oh, I'm a good person, I'm going to go do that. They lived the whole spectrum of the human experience. And so do you want are you comfortable going a little bit more into sort of that part of your life? Because it sounds
teenage years?
Because it sounds like that really shaped how the...
I mean, I didn't... So during my teenage years, my father was working day and night, and he didn't have enough time to spend, meal prepping and quality time with me and my brother.
So is that around the time that you met this gentleman who was, way older?
I met him later on around, 16, 17... But it didn't change my life until I was 19. And when I decided I was going to go and be with him and live with him. And I lived a very secretive life as well. Nobody really knew, only very few people knew. I was in an intimate relationship with him, but it was pretty intense, I just lost my autonomy. I lost, at the same time I was so in love and had so much freedom. It was some of my most precious moments of my development years. And this person and I had grown so intimately and so deeply, but it just was very it took me a while to recognize that he was taking advantage of me, right? He was taking advantage of my vulnerability, and that I didn't have my full sense of identity yet. Even though I was super eccentric and really confident and just full of life. And so it took me a really long time to fully process that. But the day that we decided to part ways, it was really violent and aggressive and intense, and it just helped me. It helped me, be who I am, and I struggled. I struggled hard because I craved that connection between him and I was wondering if it was ever going to happen again. And I actually prayed to find someone my age, because I struggled with the fact that I was spending time with people that had more wisdom and life experience. And so I kept trusting other people more than my own intuition.
It's funny you bring this up, because that actually guides us into what I my next question, but you already started answering it, which is when was the first big point or milestone of your life that really shaped the direction of who you are? And it sounds like that sort of break happened.
It needed to happen. The universe, I was so intuitive. I was so highly intuitive, and I kept suppressing my intuition and just my I guess sixth sense, right? I had it, but I just didn't know how to tap into it.
A unified mind.
Yeah, exactly. And so through that that fallout of that relationship, I had to discover myself and spend a lot of time alone,
What was that like? Let's see.
It was awesome.
Let's say a month after that. What was the whole
it was
process?
chaotic. I mean, I cried a lot. I explored a lot. I took myself out on dates. I cut my hair really short. Like I had really long hair. And one of the things about when I'm gonna just be honest about it. I was groomed by a much older man who wanted me to look a very particular way, and he fetishized over that I was a young Asian woman, and he wanted me to have long hair and wear heels and all that shit. And at one point, I remember him saying that, like, you know, I'm gonna dump you if you cut your hair. And I was like, and that's exactly what I did. So that rebellion and that resistance just shaped my life. And so
bless your strength.
I was about 23 at that time when I cut my hair really short. Like I had like a shoulder length long hair, and I had cut it to a bob, and eventually started cutting it short and short. And this was around, I would say, like 2015. So from 2015 to 2016 to 2017, I started to cut my hair shorter and shorter and shorter. And then I met people, my peers, and I met a bunch of queers, and I met a bunch of radical people, and met a bunch of people that were anarchists, and that really opened the door around, you know, like a different way of life and a different way of living, a different perspective. Because like growing up in Richmond, it was the suburbs, right? And you're very
urban suburbia, yes,
exactly. You're very domesticated and it's very mainstream. And I was just like,
it's a little too perfect. If what your neighbors had
exactly
grass to spy, you know.
I just felt like I was not like that at all. Like I was too weird, and I needed to tap into my weirdness. And so yeah, as soon as I like met people that were, you know, that whose life values were around like resistance and rebellion and just like changing the system, I was just like, I'm in. I'm so all for it. And also, like, I forgot to mention, I started working in the downtown East End around I was like 20 years old. So while I was in the relationship,
what started that? What sort of?
So it started through my youth. She was a youth worker at church. So I used to go to a Pentecostal church during high school, around like 17, 18. And I had a youth worker named Brenda Robinsons. And I still remember, I love her to bits and pieces. She was so cool. She was a youth worker, or a youth leader, not a worker, youth leader at a Pentecostal church. And she had like this thing where she got up on stage and talked to the youth and had like a testimony. And her testimony was about the people in downtown East End and how like being a child of God, or being into Christ shit, like Christ consciousness, like you needed to embrace people that were living in their shadow, and that you weren't here to push them away and try to delegate how their life was. So I loved how she explained that, and that just like wisdom really resonated for me.
It was actually a few people like her who, because my aunt, she raised me, she in the 70s, she was a pagan, she was adopted, so, you know, grandparents are Jewish, but, you know, she you know, God is this, God is that. And, you know, I at 13 started looking into, you know, paganism, and I learned about the burning times, and then I got really frustrated, and I felt very uncomfortable saying the word God, because I'm like, how could there be something where, you know, this religion is helping people, but it's formed upon people's deaths. You better believe in this, and we're going to murder and torture you, so that be right before you kill you, in hopes that you repent, so that your soul can live the rest of your life. And it's just, to me, it just didn't sit right. Oh, we're gonna take, anyways. Then it took a few people to sort of who put it in a different way, and you know, hey, you know, Jesus was kind of a bit of a hippie too back then, and you know, there's many years for people to sort of form this martyr into, you know, applying to political stuff. But, you know, think of it logically, you know, Jewish system, and, you know, he's there, and, you know, rebelling, and Quentin, how about you take away the, you know, who she came from, and, you know, this, and focus on sort of, you know, what his mission sort of represents: to love, to be accepting, to take care of your fellow person, to, you know, inspire, you know, hope when hope doesn't exist, and to your friends and every person is your family, and we gotta teach everybody to be together and support each other and not be separated by petty things such as religion, which is just anyways. So there were many lessons that I digress, but I am grateful for learning about Christ consciousness and learning about that, because I can say the word God now and not, instead of without cringing
and get triggered. Yes, hell yeah, hells to the hell yeah. So she opened that whole, like, she was just super compassionate, super chill, and talked about the downtown East End. And then we got talking, and I told her, like, your message resonated with me. And then from that conversation, she was like, hey, would you be down to, like, be my roommate and also, like, get a job in the downtown East End as a bartender? And I was like, yeah, I'm, like, so down to move out of my dad's house. So she got me a job as a bartender at the Dodson Pub, 25th East Hastings, right in the fucking Skid Row. And it was with a company called Community Builders. And Community Builders was a church kind of organization that had managed SRO buildings and also managed this particular pub. So this was like 20, I guess, would you say 20 years ago now? Or 10 years ago? Okay, I can't even say that 20 years ago. I'm not even...
Yeah.
It's almost there. But yeah, that was when I was around like 19. And this is when like pubs were still open on Hastings. And within like a few years... of like a year of me working there, and they closed it down, and they were going to do renovations, and they wanted to do renovations of the building, and that whole thing completely changed me. Like living in Richmond to moving in like Marple and then working in downtown East End was just like incredibly like transformational,
difference of night and day.
And so like I met a lot of beautiful people that were heavy on their drugs and alcohol. I became very close friends with them. My kind and like open, non-judgmental like energy was really accepted there, because Brenda was like that. Like she and I became a very like a powerful duo when we did frontline work, because we were like, praising God at the same time. We were like connected with like God and Jesus, but like doing work in the downtown East End. And it was cool because with that organization, we didn't have rules of how we were to be. So we showed up in a very personal way. Like we had drinks with our clients, you know what I mean? Like we went to the pub with them, and like we took them out shopping or whatever. Like it was very intimate. But because of the nature of that whole lifestyle, people that we were close to sadly had passed away. Like some of our closest people that we loved, that we would visit on a regular basis, had died so suddenly. And this actually impacted my really good friend, Brenda Robbins. And she was in her 30s at that time, working in a downtown East End, and I think was interested in going to nurse school. So the death of the closest people that we knew really impacted her to the point that she had to leave Vancouver. She was like, I'm going to give up this apartment. You're going to live here by yourself, and I'm going to move back to Toronto with my family and go to nursing school and become a street nurse. Come back here and help the downtown East End again.
So she wasn't leaving because it hurt her too much. It affected her, and she cared so much that she directed her entire path and journey to go equip herself with the proper skills and tools to be able to just make an impact and a difference.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was really cool.
Is she still in Vancouver?
She's not. She's in Toronto. She's married. She probably has a kid now. I haven't spoken to her in a really long time.
Reach out to her.
I should.
And if she ever comes back,
she's so cool.
I would love to have her as part of this podcast.
She is one of the coolest human beings. Like her heart is golden, like she has just got a heart of gold. Everyone who's around her just feels so much better. I did get invited to her wedding like years later, and how I felt about her, that's what everyone said about her.
Okay, so I'm just going to speak out to the audience of the podcast. If there is anybody out there who hears this podcast and it would not make a big difference on their wallet, and you would like to sponsor Brenda to come out to Vancouver for a couple of days, give her a hotel or whatever, and to be on this podcast, then please reach me through my email, and let's get this happening, because I think that, if you want to help out, that would be great.
Yay.
But, Brenda, wow.
Yeah, she was definitely a pivotal person in my life that was someone I looked up to and helped me be who I am, which is fearless, just so much love. People in the downtown East End, I felt so much closer to than I ever did with people I grew up with in Richmond. You know what I mean? Just the amount of authenticity and the closeness and the hugs and the just the depth, and it got deep, really real, and there was no animosity, no jealousy, no manipulation, even if people were high on whatever the fuck they were high on, it wasn't about that.
It was people self-medicating from horrible experiences, and they didn't have anyone to sort of guide them along the way, and I bet you there are a lot of them felt ashamed and embarrassed because but at that point,
there's no need for shame, I just didn't need to shame them, and also it gave me more skills and insight how to keep showing up for others, that struggle with that kind of experience.
Thank you for bringing light onto that, because I think there's too much stigma attached around people's vices, and I think that even adds to the issue, because then it with that stigma it reaches deep into our society and the help available, and the way that hospitals treat them if they
It's not, there's definitely a baseline of compassion, but it's not very it's very a high turnover. Hospitals are very high turnover. The burnout rate's really high. We know the healthcare workers right now are not also, even if they're paid $30, $40, $50 an hour, the quality of their life is not that great too. A lot of them are dealing with autoimmune and a lot of health and diseases and things like that, and just the drain of that high turnover of the nature of the work. So I have compassion for everyone in trying to support people to stay alive, really, and be cared for. But our society definitely needs to focus more on being nurturing and softer, and just basically have every accessibility be accessible. There shouldn't be a cap on anything, we shouldn't cheap out on people's wellness at all. And if I was a freaking prime minister, or I had any kind of leadership, I would be yo, there's an unlimited budget to this. We're going to invest in people's wellness, because it all comes from the medicine, which is food, which is music and gathership and fellowship and fucking therapy and counseling and somatics and shit like that. Music, all of it's connected. And if we invested in that, our community wouldn't be struggling where we are right now, because the cost of living is so high, and the only people that are not impacted by it are those that are actually doing that, right? They're manipulating us. It's a scam. It's a scam. Life is not
touching on this.
Life is not a scam. Life is very precious, but behind the scenes of our existence, somebody out here is scamming us, right? And it's up to us to be the glitch. It's up to us to resist, and resistance doesn't mean we need to be organized in bigger ways. It just means that we need to be doing self-care and doing these basic, very foundational ways of supporting our bodies, right? And a lot of us don't have those life skills, and it took me a very long time to support my body and support my brain and my very sensitive soul.
So was there a moment when everything shifted for you, like a line in the sand, or was that, sort of the point where you met Brenda, and that was sort of that?
Well, Brenda came in my life for a few years. She was my youth leader, and then we were working, we were coworkers, and we were roommates. So we were together for 4 years, maybe three years, and then she moved out. And then I was still working in a downtown East End. I didn't keep that apartment for a long time. I kept staying with that relationship I shouldn't have been in. But by 24 years old, I had left that relationship. I moved into my own little bachelor suite. And then I moved around and lived in like queer punk homes and stuff like that. And by 2017, I had lived on my own. I had my own apartment, which I still have right now, which is on track. Yeah, it was really cool. So since 2017, I've been housed and living alone and taking care of cats and also hosting and doing a lot of really cool creative projects. And I feel like I'm just getting started.
So around that time, like when life threw chaos your way, what did you lean into to stay grounded?
Music and community. My sun sign is in Taurus. I had just had my birthday a couple weeks ago, but my moon and my rising is Gemini. So I crave community, I crave family, I crave social connections on a regular basis. So what kept me healthy was like when I would go into my deep depressions and like deep whatever fucking funks, I would get out of it. I would get myself dressed up. I would go to an event that my friends are hosting or doing. So a lot of people I know are musicians or poets or dancers or some form of creative storyteller. And that's what really, really kept me, I guess, I don't know, that kept polishing me, that kept changing my DNA, you know what I mean? So that's how I stayed, that's how I stayed alive is through the music and the art and the underground world here in Vancouver, so-called Vancouver. And I'm so grateful for every artist that has graced me and everyone else around them with their soul, you know? And yeah, so I'd have to say it would be that, you know. And
Have you ever felt like you had to rebuild yourself from something that felt like it might break you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was that? What was that sort of one of those or a few of those moments?
Well, you know, so it's funny. So I dated someone, like I was in a relationship with someone much older than me in my early 20s, and then I was like alone for a few years, and then I had like manifested. I was like, I want to date somebody my age. And
the peer aspect.
My peer aspect, and it did. I literally like experienced that. I met somebody my age from Richmond who also happens to be like into anarchy and like quite rebellious. And I just thought he was like a super hunk, you know? And so this guy, he changed my life. And I don't even want to say his name because I still have some like bad, like harsh feelings because of just like our history. But it was catalytic. It was super catalytic because we met in the summer of 2018 and then like dated for like a few months and then eventually got into like frontline work. Like he introduced me into pipelines and like what was happening with like the Canadian Pipeline like corporation and like and like Indigenous people resisting and stuff like that. Even though like I was already working with Indigenous people in the downtown East End, I had not a clue about like land defenders and like water protection and like you know, people that are fighting against the government. So this person actually introduced me to that work. And so within just a few months of us dating, he was like, hey, do you want to support me moving my trailer to Westridge in front of the Kinder Morgan's like gates and surveil?
Oh, that's bold.
So
Kinder Morgan.
Yeah, so he was into it for years. Like he was into it. I kind of was just like, you're just hot and like I'm into whatever you're doing. You know? And like and he's like, do you want to do this? Do you want to put my trailer there and we can like surveil? And I was like, sure, okay. And like totally took away from all my arts and like my journey because I was like, I also have a background in photography and video and fashion and, you know, love modeling and like love working with other models. And so I have an eye and he essentially utilized my energy and my like.
He was a catalyst.
Yeah.
A muse.
Yes, he was a muse. And so like yeah, that whole thing in 2018 changed both of our lives. We triggered CSIS, we triggered Canada's corporation and all of their surveillance, and basically like had a bunch of undercover cops trying to freaking like destroy our camp. And like it grew though, because they kicked us out of Westridge.
You're making a difference when CSIS and stuff like that happens.
Yeah, and
wait, this is the system that you can't mess with. You can
Yeah.
you can rebel, but not this.
Exactly. So 2018 was definitely crazy. So 2018, we did the Westridge thing. We were working with an elder. His name is Eagle Eyes, and he is now with his ancestors. He actually helped really push our work into what it did, and it grew into a camp called Camp Cloud in Burnaby Mountain.
Thank you for the work you did here.
Yeah, so Camp Cloud was a grassroots collective of a bunch of people all over the world, all backgrounds, to unite to protect water and the ecosystem of the Salish seas. The orcas, all the wild animals under the water, and also our community members that are at high risk of the development of the tankers and like the sludge oil and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we did that shit, and we moved to a different location after getting kicked out of Westridge. We ended up going to in front of the Hell's Gates, right in Burnaby Mountain. Why am I forgetting the freaking address? I'm putting my own home address, but it's a different address of this location. It'll come back to me.
Joys of ADHD.
Yeah, so he took his trailer there, and next thing you know, me and a few other people were stopping equipment from entering the gates, and then we were getting cops assault, harassing us. None of us.
I wish I had the balls to do that and was there at Peace Camp, because, anyways.
None of us got arrested until the big day happened, which is everything I'm talking about you can find on the internet.
Did that have to do with something to like Ferry something?
So Fairy Creek had happened years later.
Okay.
Fairy Creek happened years later. Camp Cloud was specifically here in the Vancouver area to raise awareness that Kinder Morgan was moving forward with the expansion of the pipelines without consent. And it was really, really, really messy because the nation members didn't all agree with it. A lot of people were like, we're supporting this. And then some people were like, no, we are the hereditary chiefs and we say no. But we're like, this family says yes. So like, it's all very confusing. And to be really honest, my personal experience, because I got into it so deeply, I do believe that it was a psyop. Like, I experienced some shit that was already pre-organized.
Well, this is the perfect place to talk about it because, honestly,
it
needs to be heard if that stuff is happening.
Basically, it fed off of people like myself and my ex-partner's passion. It fed it off of us and grew a community, but it was misled because it was already there's already there's already people that are already paid to intervene and to essentially distract everyone's movement. The whole entire movement was completely just a shit show.
Aren't we talking like possibly billions of dollars?
Billions of dollars. Heck, yes.
That's enough money to warrant a reason, or yeah.
There's a lot of money in this, right? So of course they're gonna get people trying to infiltrate and trying to pretend that they're for the movement and they're here to fuck shit up. And it was crazy.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure that's what happened in Vancouver when everybody with the banks thing. What was that? Where everybody stayed in front of the.
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember it for the life of me, but I was there at the beginning, and I know a few people who are there. I watched how the entire thing crumbled, and it with the passion that was there, it should have held strong. But anyways,
yeah, it always somehow gets destroyed by something or someone, right? And
so this big ending part, what was the
I'm trying to summarize a 2-year, a 9-month camp that expanded from an action that I did. So January 10th is really, really big. January 10th, 2018 was some of the biggest thing of in history that has been recorded, that was recorded on live feed, that was recorded on CBC and all of the live corporate broadcasts, that had me on top of this trailer, on top of my ex's trailer. I had basically like jumped on it because there was tow trucks and cop cars barricading it and trying to remove it from the site. And there was people inside the trailer. And so what I did is I saw the scene because I had come from an appointment, and I got on a cab and I saw the thing, and then immediately my body was like, jump on the trailer and claim it and say, this is your trailer. It's not going to fucking leave this fucking spot. And everyone's going to leave. But it turned out to be a 48-hour standoff. So I stood in that trailer for 48 hours with people inside the trailer while every single road was blocked.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was blocked. And no corporate media could come and film me. Only people that were there could see me. So it's almost it's like a very how do you even say? Organized. It was just organized by the system and to suppress it. But I had everything caught in live feed. And after the 48-hour like standoff with them, because they didn't know how to arrest me on top of the trailer, they had tow trucks on the trailer, and I'm on top of it. This young girl just being like, "You have no jurisdiction. We're protecting water. You got to get out. Like, you know, you had no consent to be here." And that was my message the whole time. I had a freaking feather. I had an eagle feather with me the whole time, and I was freezing. People were bringing me food and water. I had support from the community, and they're saying, "Uni, you're doing so good."
Okay, so people out there, quickly, just if you ever have that gut feeling and say, "No, I shouldn't," if it is for something important like that, be the warrior. I'm sitting in the presence of a warrior. I've got shivers down my spine. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just want to reach out and say to the listener, any listeners that are in that position and they're on the fence, like, should I or should I not? Follow your heart. Go with your gut. Be the warrior, because nothing changes if nothing changes.
And that's totally what I did. I followed my instinct, and I was like, and I was surprised. Like, I traversed and climbed up that trailer really quickly, like a little Spidey woman. And my ex was not to be found anywhere.
Even though he had you brought his trailer.
Yeah. And so, like, it was me. It was me who expanded that camp. It was, even though it was his idea, it was me who expanded that camp. It was me who got as many people to support it from all of Turtle Island.
It kind of feels like the universe ushered him into your life to bring you there to have that happen. It works.
The thing, it was really violent, though. It was some of the most violent experiences I've ever had, because by the end of the 48-hour standoff, cops from afar, I saw literally like cops wearing all these crazy like tactical gear coming marching like fucking little like weirdos, and they had a giant fucking pipe, long ass metal thing. And what they did, Quentin, is they took this giant piece of chunk of metal and they fucking just destroyed the door open. And I have it on live feed, watching cops with a giant pipe thing, like with a square flat that go like hit the door and then broke the door open, and then grabbed two women and arrested them, and then left me on top of the trailer. So there was this whole entire...
They're trying to threaten you to say, this is, down now.
Yeah. So that was the scene that had happened. Kids had saw it. A bunch of people in the community saw that. And because I had the live feed, CBC and all the freaking like corporate media stole my live feed and then used it as their story, and then just made it sound like I was like a complete mentally ill woman. You know what I mean? And so they spin the story around instead of the actual story of like, no, the cops did something really fucked up. Like, there was a warrant for me and my ex. It was like for an unidentified male and female. The warrant was for us specifically because we had started that camp. We had started a surveillance post. And what a surveillance post is, you're just filming the activities of the freaking of the situation. Yeah, the experience of like all the equipment's coming in, everything. And like, they cut out a lot of trees from that area, right? And so it was messed up, and they didn't need to cut those trees. They didn't need to displace all those birds and the cedars and So January 10th was some crazy shit show that had happened, which actually expanded the sacred fire. So the sacred fire had already started before that, and it expanded.
What is a sacred fire?
So a sacred fire is it's lit through prayers to ignite. It's basically like resistance, like
Passion in the soul.
yeah.
And
It's a fire that doesn't go out. You're not supposed to like burn it out like at all. Like it cannot die, and you're supposed to feed it with firewood and prayers and songs and all of that stuff. And so Eagle Eyes, who was a Sisha hereditary chief, like ordered us to keep the fire going after that. And so we had a bunch of people donating money and firewood to keep that fire going. And so for 9 months, Quentin, after that January 10th had happened, the camp had evolved and expanded and stayed. It just started off as just one trailer, and next thing you know, there was 2 trailers, 3 trailers, and then the next thing you know, there was like salvage materials, and they built a woman's cabin, and then they built a carver's cabin.
Community.
They built a community.
A small town.
Exactly, a village. And then CBC and all of the corporate media kept saying it was like a homeless camp.
I'm gonna sort of
So messed up.
well, there seems to be a lot of that I've noticed in media with this is a bit of a well, if I'm not triggering anybody, but with the Diddy trials right now, and the influence that there has been, the finding out from a lot of the stars, okay, so you get invited to a party, and then you get drugged, and then you get pictures taken, and you don't really know what's going on, and then later on you get sent a little micro USB, and say welcome to the family, and then if you don't want to go back, you have a set movie that you're supposed to film, and you're invited to a party, and if you say no, out of nowhere, it just gets, and you learn very fast that the narrative of news of what's actually happening as opposed to what is wanted to be heard is very different, and it sounds like that sort of...
That's exactly what happened. They made it sound so completely different from what it was actually happening, which is why I got thrown under the bus. A lot of people hated me. A lot of people in the community that were already well-known activists hated me. And they're just like, who the fuck is this bitch fucking like going hardcore and basically like trying to get
doing what a whole bunch of the people should do. She's the one who's, people should be saying that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Hey, we're the 99%. What the fuck? And I'm glad that you're having a chance to share your story here, because that gives a chance to, set the record straight and to sort of remind people, you can't always believe everything you hear on the mainstream media, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to have to figure out with your own judgments and do your own research.
Absolutely.
And if you actually care, you actually want to make a difference, do your research and look into it, and don't just be satisfied with what is being spoon-fed to you by what's if there's 99% of the media focusing and saying this, I've come to learn the more they try and say it's this way, it's probably another way.
It got watered down a lot, and the stories changed so many times. But if you weren't there, then you know nothing, and you're only gonna make up stories and make gossips. And I was thrown under the bus by a lot of Indigenous peoples as well, trying to say that I was triggering people and that was violent and that I'm a fake. And there was just so much drama that had happened that I decided to just like pull back away from it completely. And I realized that a lot of people were really triggered and still operating on their trauma. And like I'm young, like my trauma is completely different, and like I have more ability to like bounce back. And I have like since that had happened, it's been like 5-6 years now, I've recovered so well. Like I've detoxed a lot of bullshit and a lot of toxic mindset and things that I had picked up. And so I have just like taken care of my body a lot more. And how I understand Landback is yes, it is a big movement, but it is so much about your sovereignty as well, and autonomy with yourself, and land back of your own body. And that's why I got into nutrition, and that's why I got into medicine, and that's why I got into naturopath, and like, you know, more into music and somatic stuff. Like all of the things that everyone really needs to tap into is what Landback is. Like Landback is taking your body from the system that is pressuring you to be a domesticated like slave, you know, go work and pay your rent and just keep working for someone else. Like
unplugging from the colonial grid and plugging back in to the universal grid.
Yeah. So
Uni.
Yes. So that's what happened, and people did not like me for that. And also, like, this whole entire time I was working at Rain City, right? And then I had just kind of I worked with Rain City for like years, and then I stopped working with them. Because I just had a crazy episode, and then I got into activism, and I was in it for about 5 years. I've been to jail multiple times. I was arrested multiple times. I was in court for so long, and like I had been, because my story and my personal experience working with the community, the judges had actually favored my case and let me go with with lesser charges, so which is great. And I'm really lucky and blessed that way, that really that's my ancestors doing that work, you know what I mean? Like it can't be like, oh, Uni's like a different special person. No, that's my ancestral like power that's backing me up, and why the courts did not like destroy my life. Like yes, it was rough, like I wasn't working, I was struggling financially, I didn't do the things I was supposed to be doing, I was lost, I was spewing, I was in a state of rage, I was also inflamed too, like I was eating a shit ton of pizza and boxed foods, so I didn't know how to take care of myself, and I was in my late 20s. So as soon as I hit like my 30s, I started to really like do the healing work.
I want to focus on that, but I wanted to say that really resonates with when I looked into totems a lot, because the path of the eagle is the one less trodden, and it's very hard, and sometimes it can be isolating, but it is true and it is powerful. And you were walking the path of what I have learned, eagle, when you were standing on that trailer, and when you got ostracized from, the people who supported a movement, and you still, even though I'm guessing you being human, am I doing the right thing? Is this true? And you were able to take that reason and that drive and that push that inspired you to do that, and realize anybody can think what they want, but I know what I did is right.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how many times you thought, where are you? You're here doing this, but is this just a song or dance? Or are you actually going to take a risk and put your own livelihoods and your creature comforts at risk to be able to stand up for this? And you can talk all you want about oh, you're doing this or that, but okay, so you think that if people are standing up against a system that violence it's oh, here's a flower, please stop doing this. Sometimes you have to bring the same element to the table to be able to.
I definitely met them with some force, for sure. I definitely met them with some force, because that's ancestral for me as a Batagüeña. Like our Filipino people are not new to resistance. We have been fighting colonizers for quite some time, and we have been trying to unite our people and educating them around our divine rights, around what is the most important, right? Like our food, our way of life, our songs, our culture, all of that we're trying to protect. But unfortunately, industry keeps getting in the way, and they're just so backed up with so much money and so much military force. And I was one time, one action, I got on top of an excavator, and I was met with people in black suits, and they had guns, right? So if I didn't cooperate with them, they would have literally beat the shit out of me and broken my legs or whatever the fuck it was. But because I cooperated and I got down, and they said that they weren't going to arrest me from that action, I was like, if you get down, we won't arrest you. And I was like, I don't believe you guys. And I was on live feed as well, right? I did a lot of stuff on live feed. And at that time, 2018, live feed and Facebook was like so new, right? It wasn't like what we have right now with TikTok and Instagram and everything. Everyone's just going on live and shit. That time it was super new. So we had like, you know.
You weren't wishy-washy standing up against, you know what, this is, okay, you got so close to fucking with the system that I didn't want you to fuck with, that they brought up the...
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. And that's just like, I'm unarmed. I am just here with, you know, my voice and my body, and I put myself on the line. And so that's why I feel like my experience has definitely helped me put things in perspective and protect myself now, because I martyred myself. I martyred myself for a movement that didn't give shits about my existence. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we are trying to like bring, like trying to raise the bar by being like, no means no, but that came with the price, and it martyred my youth, right? It martyred my ability to be the creative person that I could have been, that I could have invested in myself. So it put me on a downward spiral of serious mental health.
It did, but I from my heart ask you, don't say it did. You consciously made the choice to say this is bigger than me.
Yes. Yeah, it's bigger than me, and that's why, like, I did that. I put myself out there, and I actually didn't really know what the fuck I was doing, to be really honest. It was just all in my instinct. But a lot of people respected me, you know, people in the community, people that saw me on TV, on social media, that knew me in the community. They were like, I stand with you, and I honor what you've done, and thank you. And so I've had a lot of amazing people that, you know, say these amazing things about me, and they're like, I fuck with you, you know, you're a real one, you're a real land defender. You weren't just like talking and asking for money. I didn't ask for money. At one point, like, I was really struggling when I was in court, and I did ask for mutual aid, and a few people dropped, you know, a couple bones, and that was really, really nice, and it helped me feed myself, right? But other than that, I didn't do more than that. I didn't take more than I should have and capitalize on it. Unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. People are grifting on people's fucking suffering, right? And I understand that right now we're living some really fucked times where cost of living is high, which living shouldn't cost. Living should just be living, right? But it is definitely affecting our young people right now, because cost of, like, an apartment or whatever, just like a place to stay, you need $1,500 for that.
Overpopulation, not enough focus on community, and
crazy shit, man. It's crazy shit. And at this time, too, I also had like mental health workers and like people supporting me and somewhat supporting me. Like, they just took notes. But they didn't really stand with me. And that's why I don't fuck with like neurotypicals and people that have like the like I guess the status, and like I'm so and so. I'm like, if you're so and so, how come you don't organize with the amount of like resources that you have to bring to our community, right? And that's what sets me apart. I'm a visionary. I'm on a mission to abolish as much suffering and colonial money, and bring it back to our community to nourish ourselves and to be stronger, because I'm inspired by the Black Panther movement. The Black Panther movement is some of the most organized and very, very like conscious type of resistance that had ever existed in our history. And we really, really need that back now and more than ever. And I'm really like going to bring this out for the first time. We want the Pink Panther movement to rise. And to me, the Pink Panther movement is fluid. It's everyone. It's every color. And it is about softness. It's about nourishing ourselves before we get into the front lines. Because how do we get to the front lines if we're not nourished properly? Right? And we're just like, put on your boots and like fight and then get in front of the thing where cops are gonna beat the shit out of you. Right now, that's happening with, you know, people that are standing for Palestine and Congolese and Sudan. Like, people that are out there getting met with so much force when really we're representing like, hello, we're supposed to exist. We can't kill people.
I'm so glad that you're here speaking about this, because as on live, as the host, that is why I created the Spicy Wisdom Collective, because I realized that I am not neurotypical. I have high functioning autism and ADHD and ADD, and I rode the short bus, and I realized that through my journey, especially with my injury, I can't work, and I'm on disability, so I have experienced, poverty, and it dawned on me, oh my God, since 2014, I have met some of the most amazing individuals with fire and wisdom and growth and the desire, same as me, to help other people. And you have just live here on the Spicy Wisdom Collective.
Yeah.
You viewers can hear me. I'm holding tears back right now of happiness and just shock and awe, because you have just shown me that I am already part of a movement without it. I feel less alone.
Yes, you're definitely not alone.
And I feel like
we're not alone.
Honestly, if I didn't feel like this was a calling before, that now I know that this me, Quentin, people feel comfortable talking with me because I'm awkward and weird, and I make people feel safe because, well, I don't need to feel, I'm not around somebody who's like, hey, I'm a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is a safe person, and
fuck status. Fuck
I am in a
status.
very unique position. I feel like I'm able to bring, sorry, I might even, I
love it.
Cut some of this, but
you're doing great. You're definitely, like, what you're doing is you're opening the things that we keep to ourselves. The system is designed to keep us isolated, right? And since COVID, everyone has been isolating and keeping to themselves because we don't trust the way we used to, right? We don't trust our community and our friends and family the way that we used to. And it's hard to be vulnerable right now when, like, we're on hardcore survival mode, right? When we're here to fend for ourselves. But that's what Western society is. It's trying to create individualism, and like, other people's shit's too much. Our shit's too much for us to care about other people. But we're really here to share our struggles and to share our experiences so that we can come even stronger and come in stronger. And because what's happening here in Turtle Island is pretty intense, and what's happening in the global world is even more. Like, it's Mother Nature, it's Mother Earth that really requires her babies, her Earth humans, to come as a force of love. Like, that's really why I'm here. Like, I'm here because of love, and I'm gonna continue to do that, and I'm gonna die like that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to leave a legacy of love, right? And if people thought my actions were too much or too this or whatever, well, that's just an opinion. It's just an opinion, and it doesn't matter. My actions speak louder than words. I act, I don't yact. And I've evolved from doing frontline activism. Like, I didn't even really feel like that was complete activism. That was just like hardcore violence, really. I just like got into stuff that has already happened. Like, I'm 37 years old. Like, it took 30 years for our Earth to melt the ice caps even more into where it is right now. Like, increasing the fucking the gas and oil company right now is just so intense that they're turning into electric cars, which is actually even more worse. And it's not even like you can't even like recycle any of those batteries. But the cool thing is, though, there is a guy that's on social media. He goes by Nature Jab. He's actually processed plastic and turned it into biodiesel.
I just watched that yesterday.
Yeah, that guy is so rad, and he's about to go on tour in Portland with another new friend of his, that they're trying to get this diesel truck to go using the plastic stuff. So he's like going viral on Instagram, and
I just set out people.
Nature Jab is pretty dope, and I really love his message around also how he was abolishing just like people hating on like, you know, white people and like all of that, because he's black. Nature Jab is black, but he's like, look at my skin. I have been like blown. He got blue, like something blue in his like shop or whatever, and so he has scars, but underneath his scars the skin is white. So he's trying to break the stigma and the separation of
pigment. People are culturalists. I gotta say this. You know, racist. Well, no, pigment to deal with atmosphere, like sun exposure over a long period of time. You know, the ice bridge, and you know, people stay in different areas to be able to adapt to those type of environments. And you know, pigment. If that is still your thing in this day and age, like it's like are you a primate, or do you have a brain? Are you literally just that?
It's triggering. It is triggering. I mean, it's triggering. I have found myself getting pretty racist as well at times. You know, I end up being like, you're this and you're that, and I was like, you know, that's just ignorance.
Richmond is one of the reasons I love Richmond in 84, because when I went to elementary school, there was in this class of 25, maybe 3 white kids and 3, you know, there was everybody, and it was like a freaking Star Trek kind of thing, where I feel so fortunate to be like, oh my God, what type of food do you guys have? As you know, oh my God, I want to learn different things, because there was none of that separation. And it wasn't until I started, you know, getting to be 9 or 10 that I'm like, wait, there are other people out there who it was a bit of a head fuck. And I think I really attest growing up in Richmond to that type of, you know,
multiculturalism is real, and we need to see that more and more, so that we bring it, getting closer and show love for each other, because like the Western culture is very cold, right? First of all, like the Western culture and the food and everything, like they've done damage onto the people that settled here, right? Even the Europeans, there's damage done to them too, right? So like I understand that, and that's why I think we need to break down these barriers, and we need to break down the food system, and like
how do we break down barriers where it's you know, products of environments that have gone on for so long that you know, we're the ones who are actually sort of seeing a deeper you know, web of connection, and people are like, oh, that's blue, that means it's a sky and a blueberry, and it's like, well, actually blue comes from a pillow. It's like there's a much deeper understanding of the connections behind it, and you know, with the type of, I guess, not neurotypical brains that we have, there's an understanding. Unfortunately, the when people are together as a group, they lose that ability to think independently, except for, you know, certain people, and it just becomes this one giant macro organism of thoughts. And if there's a certain number of people that believe one thing, even though they sort of had this, you know, I sort of think differently, they just have this compulsion to just jump into the rest of the crowd, because we don't want to not fit in and be treated like those people who go against it, because, you know,
we need music. Music is what changes that completely. Like the frequency of music and the frequency of food, the frequency of fabrics. Like our skin is one of the biggest organs, right? And like with the oil industry and the gas and oil industry, they have an overflow of petroleum, which has gone into everything. So we have so much petroleum around us that there's actually a documentary called Plastic Humans or Plastic People. It's
the equivalent to 1 spoon in our brains of microplastics.
Yeah,
I heard
we have a lot of microplastics in our body, and so that's why I advocate about this a lot. And I talk about this documentary a lot, because people need to watch it and people need to educate themselves on how to remove microplastics and to reduce that. Right?
Is that even possible?
It is possible. It
absolutely
is.
Microplastics from the plastics from the brain.
Well, we just need to not cutting. We need to not use plastic so much, and don't cut food on a plastic cutting board, and don't use like replace everything that you have. Like even your blankets shouldn't be polyester. The polyester's frequency is death.
I actually would have been all on this trend, but until something I watched a few days ago, which made me realize that yes, we have to stop using microplastics, but I don't think that there's any possibility for at least the next 3 generations, if we stopped today, for it to, sort of make an impact. Because there are a couple of people, saying, oh, we need to, stop using this or that. And you just said, okay, so how did you get here? Okay, well, the transportation that got you here was, used by plastics to move here. Okay, what did you eat? Okay, so, did you have any juice? Okay, so that juice... it's held in a plastic container,
Well, that's why we need to take back our food source and do everything by hand. And that's why I did the popsicle journey. The popsicle movement is basically taking food waste and turning it into new product and turning it into electrolytes. And the only food waste that I have is basically like the popsicle sticks and like the parchment paper. That's it.
You're a pioneer of some.
That's it.
You're part of a movement that is going to shape the rest of humanity.
Heck yeah.
And
Heck yeah.
I give you so much respect for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, what's something about your work that people don't always see but matters a lot to you? Sort of moving forward.
What do people see or don't see?
Well, what is something about your work, like your activism and your
I have to
passion
say
for
love. My love for the earth and love for the animals and love for humanity is so deep, and it's so obvious. It's so obvious because why else would I go out raving? Why else would I go out to dances? You know what I mean? Like, I don't really support like mainstream music. Like, I don't go buy ticket concerts or whatever. Like I'll support like local artists. You know what I mean? But I would never buy a Beyonce ticket. You know what I mean? Like, I would never. Like shit like that, because they cost like $300 first of all, and you're supporting a mainstream artist that's like been sexualized and like groomed and all of that shit. And so that's just not where I'm gonna put my energy in. But what I'll put my energy in is like, a unified type of like, community-based type of music where they do workshops and they have food and, they have vendors and they show a bunch of different things where you get to expand. And I'm actually going to be going to a smaller festival this weekend. I'm really excited about it. It's called Deep Roots.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
When was it founded?
I remember 2022 that they just started it, so it's probably about 3 years old right now. So maybe 4 years.
So what are you selling popsicles there?
I am. I'm going to be selling popsicles, and I'm really excited. Like, I have my little like station all set up. The thing that I really, really need to save up for is a portable freezer that I can bring into these spaces, because they're about $1,000, a portable freezer that just runs on its own and it's battery operated. But I don't have a vehicle right now. I just rely on my friends that drive me there. I also have an e-bike and a trailer, but I can't take that to Kamloops. But I do use dry ice. Dry ice is really cool. That lasts for like a good 24 hours. That keeps things frozen.
So listeners out there, once again, I'm just gonna say out there, if I can sort of figure it out after, but I'm gonna try and open a bit of a fund. If you would like to support Uni in getting a portable freezer, then once again, just check links in the description and, be part of the movement and help her do the thing.
Thank you.
Now, with what's going on, because we've sort of focused on, some pretty big things about real big triumphs. Let's bring more, to current time. What's giving you in life lately? What's been giving you life, rather, creatively, spiritually, or just straight up joy?
Staying spicy and staying very active and sensual. Like, I'm really tapping into my femininity. I really love my femininity more. Like, I'm embracing that more. And sensuality. I just feel like I'm not afraid of that anymore. I used to be so afraid of that because of how it was gonna look and how I dress, how I dance, how I express, and that has been giving me a lot of life. And honestly, I feel like I look much younger now than I did in my 20s because I'm way more embodied. So that's really what's giving. Like, I'm just an embodied, wholesome, happy, like DTF type of bitch. I'm a baddie. I'm a baddie.
Yeah, you are. Actually, so I'm gonna. So, for those of you who definitely don't know, because I met Uni when I was almost homeless because of the same type of struggle, and for 4 months I was trying to find a place because the house was being sold, and at the last moment, instead of living in a tent with my cat, I was invited to Victoria. And, hey, Marlene, what's wrong, Quentin? I don't have that. When are you going to be here? And I got on the ferry, and I was sitting at a bus stop with my guitar, and this lovely
Was it Victoria or Sunshine Coast? Because I met you.
It was Victoria.
No, I met you in Sunshine Coast. I met you in Sunshine Coast.
Oh, I was going to visit Rainbow Dave.
Yeah.
From Peace Camp.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Different story. I'm getting old, folks, but I mean, young. The older I get, the younger I get, so.
Yes.
But I was sitting at the bus stop at a ferry at a big pivotal point. Oh, yes, that's because, anyways, the person who started Peace Camp was passing away. He was sick with cancer, and I went to go visit him, and that's a different story for a different podcast. But she saw me with my guitar, and just we gravitated towards each other like two magnets, and she said, can I record singing a song? And
yeah.
In fact, I think that was the time I saw you before today.
Yeah, that was like the first and last time I think we've seen each other.
The weirdest thing is it still feels like I've known you
for a while. Same. Yeah, I still have that video on Facebook because I love the Sunshine Coast. It was like my getaway from the city, right? Like, I just been in beast van mode for so long, like working in the downtown East End, being in the urban jungle, and then like as soon as I found out about the Sunshine Coast, and I found that you could have like fires and go to the beach and go to waterfalls and stuff like that, I was like in heaven, right? And so that's why. And then when I saw you playing, I was just like, yo, you're so beautiful, like I need to film you. And
that was the medicine I needed, because I
saw you were
doing
you were fussed, and you were expressing yourself. And
well, if there's someone out there like me but is listening to it, sitting there quietly struggling, listening to this podcast. Yes, you right there. Yes, I'm talking about you. Uni, what would you say to this beautiful being right now that's listening?
You're amazing, and you matter. You matter so much, and so like, don't ever forget that you need to fill up your own cup first. That's all I gotta say. You matter. You are loved, and you're not alone.
Couldn't really be said better. And yes, it's very true. You got this. So what is that? What is a mantra quote or weird little saying you come back to when things get wobbly?
Eat well. This one is really good. Dream big, eat well, fuck loud. Or maybe the other way around. Or eat well, fuck loud, dream big. Something like that. That's my mantra.
Me. As you were on your way here, and I'm setting up to get ready, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the TikTok live. And it's like, no, this is professionalism. And so I sat here the whole time. Quentin, you got this. You got this. And I'm stressing out. And it's like, nope. wouldn't be coming here if you actually didn't, if you weren't doing something, special. You got this, Q. And I'm hearing myself, and it's like, oh my God, kind of weird, but I
own it. That's it. Keep owning it. Being weird is the best. I love being a weirdo. That, if you, I don't like the word authenticity, to be really honest, because it's being overplayed. But the weirder you are, the more real you are. And when you're in that state of realness, the more you get to, the people that are meant to be in your life will see you, and they will just attract. It's just literally, that's how the universe works, And so, of course, you got to have boundaries too, right? Some people try to cross your boundaries. That's something I will always talk about clearly, is put yourself first, protect yourself first. You matter.
Yours out there as much as you want to.
Your feelings matter. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, speak up, right?
Listen to your gut.
Exactly. Speak up. Something doesn't feel uncomfortable. I don't really want to do that. Say no. Feel comfortable saying no. And that's what I hope people who are listening who can say that, because saying no is an act of love. It's an act of resistance, right? And we don't have to people please anymore. We're breaking that narrative of being nice. We don't want to be the nice guy. We don't want to be the nice girl. We just don't need that anymore. We need to be real. And being real, requires you to sharpen up, have some claws and have some thorns. Not everyone should have access to you accessibly. Not everyone deserves to see the real you. Only the people that have earned the right to do that can see that, right? And so, I understand, for entertainers and artists, that's another different thing. They really want to share their soul out there, right? But for me, I really done some work on saying, developing these skills of no, actually that's not for me.
I'm 40 years old, and if I'm being honest, I'm about 50% there, because I love too much, and I have a capacity to forgive so much. I go as far as I'm able to take it, which is really far, and I'm realizing that it is draining, and it is counterproductive to what I am, the vision that I am for me.
Make sure your cup is full first. Until your cup is overflowing, that's when you can really start sharing. And I understand, for a lot of artists and creatives, no matter how old you are, you just want to pour and share because there's just so much, right? But it's part of the character development, I think,
It's harder for me because I have, at a very young age, I developed everything happens for a reason, and you have to go through the, rough. You have to be cold to be, appreciate warmth, and you have to, starve to be able to appreciate eating. And so I've at a very young age developed a something bad is happening. I named myself 10 years ago the silver lining motherfucker, and I guess this is my own journey. My own struggle is to, learn that maybe my struggle now should be being uncomfortable telling people, I'm not cool with that.
Take the challenge. That's a good thing. Sometimes if we've known something for so long, that's how we grow up. It's okay to take a little bit of challenge, right? Challenge yourself to try something a little different, and give yourself permission to not do so much, just to rest, take it ease, right? I love that about, that's what I've learned this year is give permission to do nothing. Give yourself permission to do nothing. You don't have to act on everything.
Doing nothing, in fact, is very much doing something.
Exactly. It is. Take the break, take the rest, do all of that, because you deserve that.
So, starting to, wrap up a little bit here, what part of this whole journey do you think sort of gets overlooked, but, in a nutshell, has shaped you the most?
My journey? Well, what shaped me a lot was losing my cat. And losing my cats, actually, I had 3 cats. I lost myself, and I felt like I wasn't worthy of love anymore. because I was too much in the survival mode, and that really fucked me up so hard. And until like I met, my lovers later down the road, and I realized I am worthy of love, and I am worthy of having animals, and I'm a great cat mom. And now I have 3 cats. One of them I'm fostering. His name is Mr. Soul, and he's been abandoned, and he's gone through a lot, and now he sleeps right next to me. So it just goes to show that even though I've gone through some of the worst type of trauma, like losing my cat in the Sunshine Coast, never to see again, and she was like my baby and my mother at the same time for like 10 years, and I just like randomly just don't have a cat anymore. Like that fucked me up to the point that I didn't feel like I should exist, and that grief really changed me. And so grief has shaped me and made me kind of like more of a loving person, and accepting, not just loving, like I just accept life and everything that it happens, like some shit's just not meant to happen, and some of us just need to experience grief for us to appreciate life a bit more, right?
To touch on that a bit more, through my own experience, my aunt passing away in 2016, which was my biggest fear in life, is losing Ruth, because my parents, I love you, Mom and Dad, but at the time, it was not what I needed to be, and when it happened, that was my big step into, or she was the one to go to when things are bad, and I had 2 weeks to clean up her apartment completely, pretty much by myself, deal with her funeral, this and that. I thought I had envisioned how I would be when I found out that happened, and I was so sure I'd break. But then something, a fire in me sort of lit up, and I don't know where the fuck it came from, and it's never left. It's always kind of, it was like a part of me activated that it was like, but and she said, oh, I need to call her to, oh wait, I can't call Auntie Ruth to tell her about Auntie Ruth. I have to pick up the torch and be my own Auntie Ruth. I have to carry on that in the world. And that was when I went from crying all the time to, I went through a period of about 5 years where I didn't know how to cry, because it was a 180. It changed me. And for those of you out there going through grief, feel that grief. Feel it, because that is the fire that is going to temper what you are going to become. That is going to help you grow. And it is hurt. It hurts. It is painful to the deepest part of your bones and soul. But please, if you're out there going through grief, I send my love and my thoughts and condolences through space and time, and I also remind you, feel it and be strong. And when you are ready, you're going to realize that a year has gone by, and you are this strong person that you didn't even know you were, and it will have happened and already been happening. Just trust the process.
I love that.
Music being your big factor. If you were to hand your younger self a mixtape, what would the first track be, and why?
Honestly, Tupac's songs just has been really, really like, Unconditional Love is like my favorite song right now. Like how he wrote that, and how he talks about like his upbringing and his mother, and just like not growing, up with like the golden spoon or the silver spoon shit. Like that's my song. Like I actually use that song for one of my reels on Instagram to kind of like show like where I'm at in my life right now, and how many of my friends have died, and how many are still in like the hustle, right? And how we're just trying our best here in this type of society. So I wasn't really big into hip hop like then when I was younger, but I definitely am like, I love hip hop. I love hip hop, the poetry, the depth, and the resistance, and like just the spiciness of it all. So I'd have to say, like, I'm sure if I could go back to some of my other tracks, I would choose that. But right now, like, Tupac's Unconditional Love is like me right now. And I would play that track. And you'd be like, what?
What does peace look like for you these days? Is it stillness, movement, something else entirely?
Peace to me is being able to laugh at shit, you know, and just like, it's not like peace is like stillness or whatever, but it's just like going with the flow. It's going with the flow and just being in the moment and just like looking at nature and looking at the trees and the flowers and just being so happy about it, all the colors. Like I used to not, like when I was depressed, I just go outside and I just couldn't look at it anymore. But since I've spent time with my elders and they taught me how to pray and they taught me how to like give an offering, it really helped me, really helped me appreciate nature and be at peace with myself no matter what I go through. So yeah, but I do have my self-care, like things that I do for myself. Like I'll have a bath and make myself a smoothie or tea. Like I'm a big tea drinker. I do love my decaf coffee. I can't drink caffeine because I'll get arrested, because that's what's happened to me in the past. My borderline on my baseline is mania, and I'm by winning. So like I have to protect myself. But yeah, that's what peace is to me. It's just kind of being in the moment. And yeah.
So with the acceptance of you know, the full spectrum of who you are, have you learned to forgive any part of your past that you've held on to, you know, or is there something that you're still sort of working through?
Is there something in my past that I'm still working
because
through?
you know, for me, I've been held back for many years by not being...
forgiving my ex-boyfriend for basically like forgiving him, because my ex-boyfriend who got me into the frontline work, I was in love with him and I loved him more than I loved myself, and I just wanted him to see me, right? I wanted him to see me, and I know he did, but I realized that he was also going through mental health stuff. But he and I had shared dogs and shared a puppy, and he gave that puppy to his mother, and I raised, like, for the first 2 years I was like his mother, right? The dog's mother. So it's still something I'm working on. It's a bit of like a bitter thing in my heart, but I want to be able to forgive that, because like we did do something really badass together, and even though it got really chaotic and fucked up and we were young, like it's still something I want to be able to be like, one day we can still sit in the same room, but right now we're not able to, because yeah, like
so that's an experience that you're currently learning to love, even if it's still, you know, a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those things.
So what's one thing you hope people feel from this conversation more than anything else?
The genuine, sincere baddie of me, and how important it is to kind of step out of line and to be that sacred, to be the, like, I'm a rebel, and I realized that, like, I was ashamed of that for so long, but I realized I turned out to be the rebel that I wanted to really be. And like that's dope, you know, like I'm now able to stand up for people around me that are going through, you know, injustices and stuff like that. And I'm a big sister. Like I'm older than my brother, and in Tagalog they call me ate. So I've just got that like big sister. I'll always look out for you, and I'll look out for everybody.
What is ate?
It just means big sister. So that's what I am. I'm a big sister. I'm super easy to get along with, and I just have good vibes, you know. And like I'm a rebel, and I'm proud of it.
I'll be your big little brother, like I am to Kay. she's younger than me, but she's my big sister.
Yes, yeah. My younger sister's like Kaya. You're talking about Kaya, right? Yeah. Shout outs to Kaya Ko. You're amazing.
Oh, by the way, if you're listening to this, Kaya, I'm speaking with her after because I've been trying to figure out a way to ask you through all of your amazing successes how to be on the show. So, I'm gonna ask. Yeah. Don't be surprised if you. Actually, you're probably gonna hear this podcast after that you've been asked. So, much love to you. If the version of you moving forward from 5 years ago could see you today, what do you think you'd say?
What would I say to me 5 years from now?
So if right now, 5 years ago, you came to the future and just saw this moment and saw this growth, and then went back and say, what would you say? What would you think? Like, how did I get there? You know?
Yeah, no, because 5 years ago I was like, chaotic as fuck. I wanted to burn shit. I was so angry. So I'm still kind of like shocked with myself right now. But this is also a version that is taking tinctures. Like, I'm taking tinctures to support my kidney and my livers. So my rage is not at the level of rage that I was at before, where I was saying really fucked up shit on the internet and being really hardcore about what we needed to do. Like, get a barge and, like...
You took the force of a volcano and learned it to turn it to the strengths that people could actually handle, as opposed to, even though the world needs to hear the strength of a volcano.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you
I was very fiery 5 years ago, and so now to see me kind of like mellow out and still have fire and maintain my light, like, that's really dope.
And when all the noise fades and it's just you with yourself, what's something you know for sure?
My ancestors have my back. With all the noise that's fucking happening around this fucking world, my Lolas are with me. My Lolas and my Lolas are with me. Even though that I don't have the same kind of support that I would like from my own blood family members. Like, I know some of my cousins know that I'm pretty badass, and they do support me. Like, I'm meeting up with my cousin tomorrow. He's going to help me with my website. He's going to take me out for lunch. But, like, I would love my uncles and my aunties to be like, you're amazing and we support you. But I know that, like, with all the things that's happening, the unseen forces behind me are with me. And that's what I know. And so no matter what I do from here on, I will always be okay. And I'm guided and I'm supported. And I just know I'm on a mission. And I'm on a mission to have an army of lovers and fighter and lovers and musicians and healers and,
So please, right now, this is a big question. And if it takes 5 minutes, please, but leave a legacy right now and think about every single across space and time. This is the second time I've done this in a podcast, but it's gotten to this.
You!
Of every single person who's listening to this podcast through space and time, what leaves them, guide them with your own fire and your own brand and your own experience. I listen, you listening to this right now, who are saying, "Oh, is this the time when I could, maybe have that guidance that I need?" Well, maybe it's through Uni, maybe it's through another podcast. Yes, but that's what this show is about. You find the right key to reach each and every one of you.
Yes.
As part of the Spicy Wisdom Collective. So be part of the you are part of the Spicy Wisdom Collective. So what is the tenets and the sacred scrolls and words and heart of Uni?
Be unapologetically you. Just be you. Speak up. Speak your truth. Embrace yourself. Really don't be afraid to love. I think love is a big thing, and it's kind of scary, but that's the thing that's going to help us grow and evolve. If we don't get out of our comfort zones, if we just keep staying and keep ourselves isolated, how are we ever going to experience life at its fullest, right? And so don't let fear be fearless. I think that's the thing, even if it scares you, if your voice shakes, speak it, speak your truth, and sing that song, share that poetry, be awkward, be weird, and cry if you have to, whatever it is, just make a sound. Don't be silent and complicit, and be afraid. And that's the thing that we're going through right now. There's this force, this dark force that's trying to get people to stay quiet and to stay alone and to just go about the thing and be on autopilot. And that's not what we are. We're way more dynamic. We're multi-dimensional, super freaking crystal beings. Our body has copper. And so when you eat natural foods, you get into your supernatural powers. And so that's one of the reasons why I advocate for eating real food. Look at the back of the labels of the food. Don't eat chemicals. Don't eat the dyes, because that dyes have impact on your mood and your mental health. And that's where a lot of people get these diagnoses. And it's you can reverse a lot of these diagnoses if you just stick to what nature is giving us so abundantly. And that's what I've got to share, because nature is fearless. One of my favorite flowers are roses, and they grow in some of the weirdest places of the planet, in some of the most harshest places of the planet, in urban jungles. You get this beautiful fragrant rose that's growing, and it's got these thorns. That's what we are. That's what we are. We are that magical and powerful. And so that's my message for anybody listening, is that to never dim your light. You are a magical, powerful, supernatural, crystalline being. Tap into that and just be. Like the bees.
Yeah. To wrap things off, I would like to offer you the table now for your plugs. What you got going on? How can people reach your product? How can people see what's going on currently in your life? What are your plugs?
Well, my Instagram social media handles, my popsicle project is called Stay Cool with Uni. And that you'll see all the events that I'm doing, my menu, all the reels and videos, and just the community that I'm a part of, that I'm trying to show. I offer natural foods, natural electrolytes. I work with food projects. One of them is called Food Stash, and some of them are just aunties, straight up like doing Robin Hood shit, saving food from
aunties.
Yeah, from the shelves that are being thrown into the garbage, and we're feeding people with that. And so follow that. You can hit me up anytime. I also have my personal account called Uni Chains. I like the name Uni Chains. That's me in a nutshell. I love working with chains and jewelry. Right now I have my chili charm earring that has some chains and stuff that I had collected over the years.
James, the bonds of community.
That's right.
Each other.
That's right. That's where I'm at. So I'm
possibly that tattoo right there.
Well, my tattoo is actually it's a beehive, but it's also a traditional Kalinga tattoo that it's eyes. They're actually eyes. There are many eyes, and I actually plan to put more eyes on my chest, because my ancestors are always walking with me and what I do, and I do work intentionally. And and so in my personal Instagram account called Uni Chains, it is more feral, it's more unhinged, and very real and raw. I don't filter shit. So follow both accounts, and I'm sure it'll expand a bit more. I love food, I love art, I love cats, I love music.
What's there not to love with all of those? Wow.
And I love the earth.
And as we all should.
Yes.
Uni, it has been the biggest pleasure to have you part of this experience in this show today, and I hope you come back again in the future. And I just, honestly, the stuff that we've gone through today, I could not have even fathomed there would be so much of a connection. And I know that I should have expected with the way things happen in life, but I did not expect for me to play a very big part in this podcast, because it brought me into a vulnerable, real state where I just you ignited a fire, and you helped me the same. Uni Chains.
Yay! Thank you, Quentin.
So, and just like that, we close another chapter of the Spicy Wisdom Podcast. This time with the radiant Uni T core, or Uni Chains, whose story reminds us that strength isn't always loud, but in her case it is, and the healing doesn't have to look like the way we expect. Sometimes it shows up in quiet moments of courage, in the decision to choose joy, and sometimes it shows up in standing in the midst of being the voice among all of the people to a world that needed a voice, and taking the greater picture as the choice that you made, and that was more important than your individual journey. Sometimes that's what happens. Uni's journey is a beautiful reminder that we're allowed to start again, that we can rebuild with purpose, create with heart, and live with flavor even after the bitter parts of life. Her popsicles might be cold, but her spirit, that's fire. It's spicy. If her story sparked something in you, an idea, a memory, or a bit of your own resilience and rebel waking up, hold on to it. Share it. Let it move you forward, however that looks for you. Thank you, all of you, each and every one of you, for tuning into this space where real talk meets real transformation. We are honored you are here joining us today. Until next time, stay soft where it counts, strong where it matters, and always just a little spicy. I'm Quentin, and we'll see you soon.